Good morning.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon now. Yeah. Thank you. This is Arturo Ish. We are Art and Ish. We are the Law Boys over here. We
I
are
don't like
starting
that.
with our first
I don't like that.
episode with the introduction of ourselves and what do we do, Ish. So
Yeah. So my full name's Ismael. I go by Ish a lot by my friends. I do personal injury, workers comp. I met Arturo back in law school. I don't know if I liked him at first, I'm going to be honest, but here we are. We're the best of friends. We work together. We do a bunch of things together. So this is just a little idea we had. We just want to, reach out, have community, understand what it's all about, and demystify, I guess, the law. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Right. What we always talk about is that sometimes with law, it's good to, even if we are independent, we work together on behalf of helping the community and helping our individuals. So it's something that even from law school, when we were back in the intercultural human rights law review, we brought that into our practice.
I would say a little swag.
It's a little swag, right? But and we have a lot of similarities. Like personally, I migrated to this country. Ish, I know your family migrated to this country, so we come from that type of generation that we've had to fight for everything. Nothing was given to us, but we also bring that extra swag to the law.
I agree. And one thing with the law is everybody thinks, lawyers, suits, kind of full of themselves. And it's true, but I think we're trying to also shed some light into that we're also people. I mean, we also have, families who get affected by things. We have positions we take. We have to obviously represent one thing, but we do want our own thing. And do you want to explain what you do?
Right. So first of all, why I do what I do and why I landed there would be probably even best. I could tell you, I started off thinking I was gonna just maybe go into business school, and then slowly I started drifting more into law school or the idea of law because in my family, everyone was always involved with law. And I said, wait, I could be the first one to do this in the US. So little by little, I started transitioning and I started doing little works with immigration, and I would go as an interpreter for USCIS. And then I ended up working for an attorney, and then little by little, it just started falling into place.
And that was before law school?
That was before law school. And then during law school, I got it more involved with, things like an immigration clinic, and I kept doing more work with interpretations and stuff like that. So it just kind of became like a natural thing, right? Like it just kind of kept calling you and bringing you back to it. So
but did you always think you always wanted to do immigration, or you kind of just ended up there?
I felt like I always wanted to, do, like now that I do civil litigation, I do civil litigations and immigration. When I was in law school, I thought I was only going to do immigration, but then I started transitioning into doing more of civil lit with immigration. I feel like that's been a big strength for me because it has made me put myself out there, litigate more.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And I feel like maybe even your practice too, sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I mean, with my practice, I guess I didn't find it found me. Yeah. I guess at some point after law school, I was like, I need a job, doesn't matter what job. So I found this job, and it was workers' comp. And workers' comp's a niche. Like, not a lot of people do it, not a lot of judges handle that stuff, but I liked it. It was different. I felt like it was actually having a direct impact because, I mean, there's certain areas of law where sometimes you don't speak to your clients. Sometimes you only see them for hearings. No, I talk to my clients at least once a week. I see them maybe every other month we see in person. I try to do stuff like that. So, I mean, it found me. I mean, I do a lot of, personal injury, also like car accidents, stuff like that. But I think workers' comp is where I found like a comfort. I feel like in the community I've grown. Everybody knows me at this point. I know the judges. We're all good friends. We hang out outside of the courtroom. So, I don't know. It's like you don't really choose your profession. It kind of chooses you sometimes. I don't know if you felt the same way.
Definitely.
I mean, I feel like when we graduated law school, everybody was pushing towards like homeowners insurance, all these things.
Which is what I do, homeowners insurance, and I do that. And it stuck with because I had to take a job where that's what we were doing. That was a popular thing. And I still do it because I love the fact that we can litigate, fight for someone's rights and go to court. I love that. And sometimes with immigration, you don't get that as much. A lot of it has to be more procedures and a lot of, sending forms and, every so often we have to go to court depending on the case. But most of the times where I get most of the court action would be in a civil case. So that's where I feel like I've enjoyed the process of doing both, but I can confidently say that the practice that I feel like I have the most knowledge is definitely immigration.
But I feel like with at least immigration, it's probably more personal also.
Yeah.
You learn more about their life. You become a therapist, and that's happened to me a lot. You're kind of their de facto therapist to some extent.
And then it also puts into another spectrum of, something that we both have in common is that something we spoke since we were in law school is that we wanted to be our own attorneys. We wanted to be like we saw the field. We were like, okay, I we have to get jobs, but eventually we want to do our own things and we want to create our own stories.
Right. No, and I think quite frankly, after a few years of practice, you're like, why can't I do this on my own?
Right. I remember we kept talking about that all the time.
I mean, right. And in a PG sense, I'm like, if a lot of other people can do it, what's going to stop me from doing it? Mm-hmm. And I mean, I don't know if you went through this when you started, but the first year was rough. Like I'm like, I'm going to be homeless.
Yeah, no. The pandemic year. I had the pandemic year my first year. So I kept looking up and I was asking God, like, what's going on here?
Right.
What am I doing?
Absolutely. 100%. No, and even so I just made 2.5 years. So
right.
Even after post-pandemic, it's like crap, Everyone's like, "What am I? How do I make myself stand out? What do I do?" But I guess for me, it was like, I'm just gonna give the best possible product I can do, and I'm gonna leave everything else out of my control in the hands of God.
Right, and also staying tunnel vision in your reality. Right. I feel like that's super important because a lot of people want to look at what the other person's doing. Example, I'm going almost into 6 years now of being on my own. Which that's a big merit, but then I cannot compare myself to someone else who has done it for 5 or 6 years because maybe their story is different, maybe their backgrounds are different, maybe their connections are different.
Correct. Yeah. So that's I think the biggest problem, and I'm always going to say this: you just got to stop comparing yourself. Yeah. Obviously, because I mean, at least for me, you see, doing personal injury. Passing by the Palmetto, how many billboards do you have for personal injury? Like, how do I get there? But once I stopped caring about whatever, if I don't get there, I don't get there. It's not for me. It's not gonna matter. I don't know if that's how you felt doing your stuff.
And it's funny because you talk about the billboards, and it's so interesting. Every time you think about the lawyer who has the billboards, you think about the lawyer who made it. You think about a successful lawyer. The best and sometimes most successful lawyers are not even doing they do very minimum advertising. But they're so good at other things in law, like, actual trial work or actual litigation. Sometimes they're doing very minimal.
I agree and I disagree. I mean, obviously, to some extent. And to some extent, I think when you do have a billboard, there's some success there, too. So, I mean, I think it's a catch and choose, but that's how I did. But
so, here's my thing. And I'm not sure how you feel, but, for example, a lot of what happened to me now, at first, I saw the practice of law, and I'm like, wow, is this it? Is this it?
Well, so you've been doing it, what now, 5 to 6 years? So what do you hate and what do you love about it?
I think what I really enjoy now, which is funny because it's probably what a lot of people dislike about, especially like maybe older attorneys, is that everything has become so remote and so easily accessible that it wasn't before. Now
I could that.
You see, I understand.
I miss going in person. I miss, even if it's just for 1 hearing time, I miss doing it in person.
But what do you enjoy? What's your favorite part?
Me personally, I hate and I love speaking with clients. Okay. I like because sometimes you form a bond with them. I don't know about you.
There's a thing about the bond, and I actually feel it when it's like when you settle or finish a case.
Right.
Like you're like, okay, bye, have a good one. Like.
Right. I mean, of course, there's some clients you're like, I never want to see this person again. Right. But there's some clients, it's like the sweetest person. You want damn, I wish I could. I want you to cook something. Right. Like a little grandma.
Let's get a barbecue sometime. But that's the problem. You create that bond, and then when you settle that or when you resolve that matter, that issue is done, and then you almost have that. Like, goodbye, client.
So I think our profession, it's a little bit of a balance because you have to balance giving a service, but at the end of the day, it's a business. Like, yes, I want to help you. Yes, I want you to be better. Yes, I want you to be happy. But, at the end of the day, we're also in it to make money, unfortunately. But that's just the name of the game, I think. And I think that's also, obviously one of the best parts is you can form, and a lot of, on the business sense, if you make this client happy, they'll refer more people to you. Right. I don't know if that's happened to you, but a bunch of my clients are just referrals. Like, llámalo, él es mejor. Yeah. And it's something I don't do, first of all.
And it's
but
who you least
it's nice
expect.
that they're speaking about you.
Right, and it's who you least expect that becomes sometimes the person who refers you the most. Sometimes that they're 100%. Like, wow, like this guy helped me, changed my life. And we do. And believe it or not, I've come to understand that we have that great responsibility of changing people's life. And now I'll ask you, what drove you to go to law school and what drove you?
Before I answer that, I don't know if I have the responsibility to change their lives. Let me go in. I think I can help you make your decisions, but you make your decisions.
Right. But I'm saying what we do every day has a meaning in people's lives.
Okay, I agree. That I agree with. But I mean, because I always tell my clients, anyways, I can tell you what to do, I can tell you what we should do, but at the end of the day, I'm going to do what you want me to do. Yeah, I work for you.
Right.
But, and then as to what pushed me, I mean, I've always wanted to do this. I don't know if you've been on the same boat, but there's a video of me somewhere at 4 years old, just mocking, saying, I want to be your, like the Robert Rubin.
Right.
And I used to do that a lot as a kid. So, I mean, it's just always been in me. I've always liked reading. I've always liked doing all certain things. So it was just a natural path for me.
Mm-hmm.
What did you do in undergrad?
I think it was like psychology with economics. But I had an idea. At that point, I already knew I wanted to do law. It was in my mind. It was definitely like a tough journey, especially like towards the end of my college years. That's when my father got sick. I had to overcome a lot of like personal adversities at that point.
You got driven.
Right. And then that adversity became the motor to push me through. And a lot of people, I was fighting fights that people didn't know because my persona, I'm always smiling, I'm always happy.
Right.
But people don't know in reality that I had all those issues going on in my life at that moment. And it was stressful. But I used that actually as a motor to help me push forward instead of using it as an excuse to not achieve.
And I remember, so we met second year of law school.
Yeah.
So the first year you were in another law school.
Right, I did. And I also, and it was a great thing because I also had a lot of connections to which I still have and speak to. So,
where was it? Your first
it was Ave Maria in Naples.
Naples? Okay, cool.
And I have a lot of friends who are also there, who I still, so I have the beautiful part that I have my friends from high school as a connection. I have my friends from FIU undergrad, my fraternity friends, and then I also have my my Ave friends, my St. Thomas friends, who I'm very, very close to. A lot of St. Thomas friends. Like it's all connections.
Just out of curiosity, what was being in a frat like?
That was.
I did. So for me, FIU undergrad.
Yeah.
I was just like, I'm gonna go to class and I'm gonna go home.
It was fun. Look, it was fun because sometimes, again, you never know who you meet in any of those given opportunities. That's true. Becomes a very good connection. I feel like I've had, and I could tell you, like, maybe FIU wise, but I'll go back a little bit. Sometimes some of the best connections that I've had for people who come to me for legal services are my high school friends.
Yeah.
And I never thought, but to like what we speak about, like, and we had this conversation before. A lot of your law friends know a lot of attorneys.
Yeah, I think you don't really understand the value of networking until you're out here.
Yeah.
Because I hated those networking events.
Yeah,
I don't want to. It's like it was
I'm
just
so
like
antisocial.
it was just like rubbing elbows, which is cool.
Right.
But I think these days it's the opposite. If I can be nice, so I actually found out 2 weeks ago. Across the street from where I live, he's a state rep, and he's a state rep who's involved in all these bills that pass, changing litigation and stuff like that. I mean, for like the longest, I just see him in the mornings on a walk. I'm like, hey, what's
and
up,
you had
man?
no idea who it was.
Exactly. So it's cool. And then now it's that connection because he knows who I am, and I know who he is. But we didn't do it with any intent. We just formed a natural bond.
Right.
So I mean, it's one of those things. And I think networking is crucial these days. And
in Miami, you're one like how they say that you're like
100%.
7 individuals away from everyone in the world.
Yeah.
In Miami, you're actually like one person away from it.
You can't do anything in the city.
Yeah, no, and then again, you can also reach anyone. Like especially if you've been here, like
if you try hard enough, you can get a hold of a celebrity.
Right.
I mean,
old Miami versus the new Miami, right?
Exactly. It's not that hard. I think this was the craziest thing. You know that auto show they do in Wynwood every February? So one of the people who had a booth was a friend of mine from high school, and then he introduced me to a friend of his, and it was the guy who owns all these restaurants, Grutman.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, this is the craziest connection.
Right, Miami. And here's the thing about Miami, is that it's very small, and going back to the reason small, your reputation runs with you. And your reputation, and I'm going to tie down this one to why being a solo attorney and all that matters, but some people come to me, and I don't know if it happens to you. Some of my friends are like, hey, how do I go on my own? I'm like, ever since day one, ever since you knew me, ever since we met, I told everyone I was going to go on my own. I was going to be a solo attorney. Like, there was no changing that. Yeah, I could have had a job here or there, but eventually the end goal was that I was going to be on my own.
Right, same.
So what we do is that inadvertently, we are doing everything as if we are going to be on our own, like we're networking, we are social. It's very difficult for someone who wasn't doing that all these years, like I told you, all these years from high school, college, undergrad, all these years, and then now all of a sudden you're at your career and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go solo.
Yeah.
Like how many times have we're like, oh, you know this person, I know him too. You know, it's happened.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so my first case I ever got solo was word of mouth or referral. Like, oh, you're on your own, cool. Well, I'll keep that in mind. And then he kept that in mind, and a few clients came in through. I think that's probably the best source of, like, advertisement works, marketing works, everything works. But I think word of mouth at the end, because you could have great ads, great publicity, great everything, but if everybody knows you're horrible, you never call your clients or stuff like that, then it's not going to matter at the end of the day.
That's certainly true. I mean, you're better off, and I feel like growing exponentially is very important. You're better off having great results for 10 clients than having 100 or 150.
So would you ever go back working for anyone?
No way. No.
Yeah, it ruins you. It ruins you completely, right?
Once you do this, once you're able to maneuver your lifestyle, because being a solo attorney is not a profession so much as it is a lifestyle. Like,
I mean, it's a 24-hour job,
right?
Because you do you're head of marketing, you're head of payroll, you do plus the legal stuff, plus administration of all, and then if there's a client who's unhappy, you're also doing stuff like that. So
the goods and the bads, of course, right? Like the goods and the bads.
But at first it's more bad than good,
right?
Or still
for like a few years. No, and I agree. Like, I don't know if it happened to you, but to me, I've had calls on Thanksgiving at 9 p.m. on Sundays, on Christmas days, Christmas Eve, New Year's. Like what you're saying, like I understand because we never really have a day off.
Yeah, no, I was on vacation in another country on a beach and the phone rang and I picked it up.
Didn't, right, you had to go hide in the bathroom and take the call.
And you have to have a system ready just in case.
Been there.
Yeah, it's part. I mean, it's never going to end. It's part of the, especially now that things are remote. That's the upside of remote stuff.
Right.
You can just send things through email and get it signed through DocuSign. Right. You don't have to go in person and things like that.
Right.
But I don't know. I mean, I think being solo is the best decision I've made, but it's also the hardest.
Same. But here's the thing. Once you take off, it's like you've already done the hardest. Now it's just gonna keep improving. You know, it's just gonna keep being constant. You're gonna keep, when you look at the adversities that you've had in your life, you start telling yourself, okay, like I've done the toughest years. These are the toughest years.
Yeah, but so I think, well, for me anyways, I think HR work is probably the hardest for me.
Yeah.
You know how hard it is to fire somebody?
I know.
It's the hardest thing I've ever done. I fired somebody. They said no. I'm like, what do I do now?
What do you do now?
Yeah, like, do I call the cops? Like, what do I do? So I don't, and I hate firing.
You have to call security.
Exactly, stuff like that. And I don't know what to do. But I think the legal part isn't the hardest part of being solo. I think it's everything else.
Yeah, managing. Look, and we've been there. I personally, my one of my biggest struggles has certainly been, like, for example, sometimes working with family. Like, you love them, but then at the same time, for me personally, it's always a little chaotic. It's always going to be family at the end of the day. So, but I've learned to come to terms that sometimes, for example, in my situation, they always look out for my best interest.
Yeah.
So there's a.
But I think that's the upside about being solo too. It's easier for you to make time for family. Like sometimes, I'm like, forget it. I'll just take 2-3 hours of lunch and I'll go have lunch with my parents or something like that. Like I don't care. No one's gonna tell me otherwise.
Right.
But I mean, it's the opposite as well. Sometimes you gotta miss out on these things for that same reason.
Yeah,
but
certainly.
That's my take on it.
Certainly. No, but honestly, it's a decision that whenever I get asked, and I got asked someone yesterday, it was like, what do I do? And I'm like, just.
But what about your social life? I'll be honest. Mine's.
Right. You see, like I've kept the balance because I also understood that, for example, being out there.
Yeah.
It's like.
But you also started in COVID, so you could have worked anywhere.
Yeah, COVID. I mean, so I'll tell you a quick thing about COVID. When I was there, my marketing strategy was very difficult. Like I didn't know what to do. Yeah. So I was just putting things, and whenever someone called me, I had to always pick up. I didn't care who it was. I was going straight to the phone and picking up.
And I remember you're working out of another country
for a while. I've done everything.
Yeah, we saw that. So, I mean, on Instagram in the group chat, we were like, yo, did you get deported? What happened?
No. I was actually here.
You've been out of the state. You've been out of the States for like 2 months, man.
I was actually here. But you see, for example, we didn't have to be at the office. We couldn't meet with clients. So I said, you know what? Maybe it's a good time to refocus and restructure myself. And honestly, like I said, like at the end of the day, it's a merit in itself, the fact that we've been able to do these for all these few years, because some people have started this and have quit and we haven't, and that's already a merit in itself.
I think no matter what happens in the future, I refuse to. I'll find a way. I'm not folding.
I'll find